Finally, we need to cover the topic of women's roles and sexuality. Now, this is a subject that Myers actually doesn't cover much in her book, so we need to say a few things about this particular aspect of Israelite families and society. An important aspect of women's sexuality is that social attachment to a male was vital to survival. So, what do I mean here? Remember that families are led by males, so a woman needs to be attached to a male to be part of the social structure. If you think about it, a woman who's married and her husband dies, that particular woman, being a widow, is very vulnerable. Now, if that woman had a son, and that son would be part of the family and be available to take over the leadership of the household, that woman's position was much more secure than a woman who did not have a son. So, when you read stories in the Bible, actually, there's probably as many in the New Testament as there are in the Old Testament. Read about women whose sons died, including Mary and Jesus, but also Jesus heals a woman's son, a widow's son who's died. Those women were particularly vulnerable in society because attachment to a male was part of the social structure. And without that, women would not be attached to any land. It would be difficult for them to find something to eat. They may have to resort to prostitution or other means of being able to survive. Women were expected to have a clear sexual history to avoid questions of inheritance. So, let's say I have a daughter and she gets married to a son and a son in a different family and becomes pregnant, but then later the paternity, remember this is before the days of paternity tests and Maury Povich, uh, if the paternity of that offspring, particularly if it were a son, is contested, this could create all kinds of problems in terms of inheritance of land. So women were expected to have a very clear sexual history or a clear sexual pedigree to avoid any questions about inheritance of land and remember the vital role that land plays in Israelite society. Therefore, preservation of virginity was sacrosanct within the family. And there's all kinds of laws. There are all kinds of laws in the Hebrew Bible about the importance of virginity at marriage. Again, because you don't want any questions about um, potential offspring being not or there being questions about the paternity of that offspring. On the flip side, any loss of female virginity, due to, there's stories about rape in the Bible, for example, meant loss of economic value to the family. So remember, when women go to live with their husbands, the family is reimbursed for the theoretical value of their labor. So if a woman is not a virgin, it's going to be harder for her to get married and probably will gain for the family a lower bride price. Therefore, males in the family are responsible for protecting the sexuality of the women in the household. And we see a number of instances where this comes to the fore in the Old Testament, for example, in the story of Dinah, where Dinah is raped. This is in the book of Genesis. So Dinah was a daughter of Jacob. When she's raped, her brothers are absolutely outraged and, in a fit of revenge, kill all the people from the neighboring town. And it seems that the brothers, yes, are outraged because their sister has been raped, but they're also outraged because their honor has been tainted. In other words, they were not doing their job protecting the sexuality of the women in the household, and therefore the household has come to great both economic loss, but also a great deal of shame in a culture where honor was very important.